This might be hard to believe, but did you know that before the 2002 World Cup, the Player of the Match award did not exist? That's correct. Golden balls and golden boots were well known, but between 1930 and 1998, from Montevideo to Paris, from Pedro Sella to Zinedine Zidane, as far as individual games went, nothing. That leaves 68 years of World Cup history, 17 tournaments, 580 individual matches, where the players that actually decided those games weren't given specific recognition. It is an injustice. Even though a lot of them that actually received them later on don't always look too happy about it. So, ahead of the latest edition, Michelob Ultra, an official sponsor of the 2026 World Cup, in association with COPA90, are setting out to fix that, with the end goal being those 580 names engraved on a single legacy trophy. So, what does that have to do with me? Michelob Ultra have given me the honor of choosing one match during that time period and debating who should be awarded the superior player of that match with someone that you may know. In today's video, I'm joined by the great Eli Mengem, football documentarian, legendary knower of ball, and kind of an OG football YouTube icon. We're going to be debating the performances, the context, the cultural weight of the game, and by the end of it, hopefully agree on who deserves their name on that trophy. This video is a little bit different to the content you're used to seeing on this channel, but I had a blast recording it and I hope you guys enjoy it too. Let's get into it. Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome back, I'm Tinashe. Today we have a very special guest, or rather I'm the guest, I think, kind of, because it's it's him and them that are kind of leading this initiative. It is Eli Mengem. How are you doing,
Hello.
man?
I'm well. Very excited for the World Cup. It's not long now. You can smell it in the air. The greatest sporting tournament on earth. And yeah, just very excited to just have another month or now 6 weeks of, of a football fest.
No, for sure. No, I'm on the same page as you. Eli, I just want to say I have a confession to make a little bit. So I actually watched your audition tape for COPA90.
Of course, I get this quite a bit. What, I think it was 13 years ago now.
Yeah, I can tell you, I watched it when it came out.
Wow,
where, like, around that exact time. I was like super into football. YouTube wasn't even a thing at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, before we get started, I just wanted to ask you, man, how often does this come up for you? Because it was like viral back then, and people that were there, they know.
I love that. I love that you've seen the journey the whole way, so you really do know the story. It's been coming up a lot recently. I don't know why. Maybe it's got a rerun, but I once or twice a week someone will be like, hey, I remember when you did that audition video. You still do it? I still see those films. How are you still doing that? So it's funny, it's obviously from such a different time, a dozen years ago or more. So it kind of makes you weirded out because obviously we grow and the films have only got bigger and better, and we've like developed in our career, and football's changed so much. Football YouTube's changed so much from that back then. But I don't know, it's always nice to hear that people like kind of know my beginnings in it all, because a lot of people's stories, they're not known, they just appear out of nowhere. Everyone literally knows I won an audition to have the same job that I have now.
I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit, my man. You're a pioneer in a lot of ways.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, look, it's all for the love of the game. Honestly, just telling football stories, just like yourself, is something I just love. Just explaining the world through the game, I just think is such a privilege. And the World Cup is the pinnacle of that, because the World Cup is the ultimate story. It's the story of our entire planet. And now we've got 48 teams. It's even more people involved. And yeah, it's a wonderful thing to be part of. And I appreciate that you recognize the beginning of it.
So, I mean, we can get into exactly why we're here today, actually. The match that we're going to be looking at today it's not exactly a small match. It's very well known. But I think what really stood out to me is that the team that lost has gotten a lot more of the spotlight as opposed to the team that won. Long story short, and drum roll please, the game that we're talking about today is England versus Cameroon, 1990 World Cup quarterfinal. There's so much to unpack here, but I mean, Eli, when it comes to when you hear Italia 90, like what do you think about? Like what comes to mind?
I mean, the colors, the atmospheres in those kind of like haunting Gothic 90 stadiums. Obviously, the Nessun Dura, I believe it's pronounced, that famous Italian song that was played before the broadcasts of the matches, and obviously, again, so some of the wild games. It was a time where like the sturginess of 80s football was passing, and we had this brief moment of crazy football in the early 90s. I think of Ireland's incredible run to, I believe, the quarterfinals. You had teams like Romania come out of nowhere. It was the final tournaments of nations like West Germany and Yugoslavia. But for me, I think that you picked a great choice, because Cameroon really was the fan favorite. The colors of the jersey, the performances of the team, the amount of goals they scored, the dancing celebrations, and then of course this iconic match, which again it really sums up the reason why it's so fantastic. We have this trophy, and we're taking it back retrospectively to all 17 tournaments, all 580 games. Because man, when we get into this and you look into what Roger Milla did for me personally, not just Milla, David Platt on the other side, it was a game that just was non-stop for 120 minutes.
So I've actually made quite a few sort of videos on this match and kind of referencing, well, not this match in particular, but the 1990 World Cup, referencing this match. And sorry, my dog has just walked into the room.
What's its name?
Peaches.
Peaches.
Yeah.
Beautiful name.
Anyway, so she's just hanging out. Yes, for this World Cup in particular, it was actually the lowest scoring World Cup in history. Amazing. From a goals per game perspective. Obviously, if you actually watch the game, so I mean, I watched the game last night just to sort of refresh, and this is when the back pass rule was still in effect. So you could pass back to your keeper, he could pick it up, and you can time waste. And it was a different time. But
yeah, it really was.
But another reason, that I picked this England versus Cameroon game is I think it really encapsulates what a World Cup is all about. We have England, who are always favorites going into these tournaments, no matter what tournament it is. If they come out on top, they haven't, other than the one, you're not going to be surprised. Inventors of modern football and all of that. But they weren't that great in this tournament. I think out of the 7 games they played, they only scored more than 1 goal in one of them, which is the game we're talking about today. And then for Cameroon, they weren't thought of as very much. They were only one of 2 African teams going into the tournament, and kind of just blew everyone's expectations out the water. I think another thing that I wanted to sort of ask is, who do you think was under more pressure? You know, it might sound like a silly question, but it's like England were expected
in this particular fixture. Well, you would say England, because no one expected Cameroon to go any further. But I read a fantastic point that Howard Wilkinson, who was the scout for the English national team, told the players that when they realized they were playing Cameroon, he said, quote unquote, "This is practically a bye to the semi-final." And I believe it was Hoddle famously after the match came up to him and said, "Some bye that was," because obviously they scraped by. So you would say that the pressure would be on England because they were the favourites, and it was like Cameroon had nothing to lose by making it that far. The first African team to make it that far, I believe. You would think it would be England, but they were expecting such an easy game that I don't think they felt any pressure on themselves either, because they just thought, "Oh, we'll walk this," and then the real stuff starts in the semi-finals, where they obviously played West Germany. But for me, I think that's a really good question. It's hard to say. Maybe neither team had pressure because both had such different expectations.
It's quite fascinating. Like, you hit the nail right on the head right there. Like, I think most people, as you said first, would expect it was England. But I think with the amount of expectation that was growing around Cameroon, because like this was everyone's team, kind of. Like the dark horse. So brilliant stuff there. And they had a great team as well. Like a lot of like this Cameroon team, they didn't do so well in the 1990 AFCON, a couple months before this tournament, but they were reigning champions from the 88 AFCON going into that one. And yeah, it was just a very sort of mixed kind of melange of different things and emotions. But England as well expected to do well, all of that. And now we get to, I think we probably have the same guy, if I'm honest with you, about player of the match, but maybe not.
You know, the interesting thing about this is it could go, again, the whole concept of this is superior recognizes superior. That's why COPA90 and Michelob teamed up to really decide who had the superior performance. But you had, 4 different goal scorers. You had one player score a double. You had one player have 2 assists. There were so many different players who contributed to this match that for me, I actually think it's not that obvious, even though I tell you what, you tell me who you think deserves it, and we'll go from there.
I think my choice is the emotional one. And like I said, I wasn't there to see it happen. I did watch the game. And this is why I say I think we might have the same guy, but honestly, there are so many other choices because this guy, he only played the second half. He wasn't very mobile. He was only 38 years of old, 38 years of age. Or he was kind of just like that classic veteran coming in, Roger Milla. I mean, his story, right? Like he wasn't even supposed to be at that World Cup. He had retired from the Cameroon national team 2 years earlier, but was only brought in because the president of Cameroon called him and said, kind of, we need you in there because Cameroon had done so badly in the 1990 AFCON. The coach of Cameroon didn't want him there. A lot of the players didn't want him there because he'd be taking their spot as, the grandpa of the team. So him to come in there, score 4 goals before that, kind of guide them into that quarterfinal, and then make the assist, win the penalty that drew them level against England, and then do the assist that got them 2-1 up. It's just, the story it writes itself.
No, it was wonderful. And you also didn't recognize his performance against Romania in the match before as what got them there in the first place. So, I mean, they're not even in this match without Roger Milla. He's fantastic. But and you know what? At first, when I looked at it, that was my first thought. You just got to recognize superior performance when you see it. But then the other argument for me is Lineker. I mean, we're talking about a guy who had his heart broken 4 years earlier in the same stage of the tournament. He's now 30. Now, obviously, we've got a lot of players playing way past their 30s now. But back then, not many players went past 30, 31, 32. Roger Miller's definitely exception. He scores 2 penalties. And what I find fascinating is the kind of behind the scenes action that a lot of people don't know. Cameroon had a spy in the stadium watching them training the night before. Lineker always took his shots to the same way, always to the keepers, if I'm get this right, a 50-50 chance of getting this right. But if I'm not mistaken, he always shot to his left. And then he decided to take it to his right on that one because they were made aware the night before by Robson that we think there's been a spy in the stadium and you need to be aware of that for penalty taking. And you think about the pressure of penalties and England's history of penalty shootouts and heartbreak. I mean, Lineker's the famous one who coined the phrase, I think it's something along the lines of football's a simple game played for 120 minutes, then the Germans win on penalties. And so imagine you're carrying the whole nation on your back. You've had your heart broken by the hand of God 4 years earlier. He's in his final years now at Tottenham. He's left Barcelona. He's about to go to Japan and retire. And he scores these 2 wonderful goals, or not wonderful goals, 2 wonderful penalties, both on the way he doesn't usually shoot. And he scores a brace. The reality is they're penalties, but they're still his brace, and there's so much pressure. 1 in extra time. For me, it's that conversation. I think this is what makes the superior player of the match trophy such a special conversation, because it's always about what actually is superiority, what makes greatness. For one, it's the guy who gave the 2 assists and got the penalty and helped out that way. For others, it's the man who converted the penalty. That's the conversation. I think that's the decision we're going to make, because I'm not sure if you know, but Mikel have given us the honor of deciding who is awarded the trophy for this particular match. So we've got a big responsibility on our hands here, because we're talking about history here, and this is a beautiful trophy. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but they're going to be gifted to one of these players, and I think it's an important responsibility. So look, I can see your argument, but I definitely think there's an argument for Lineker as well. If you want to, I don't know, what's your thoughts?
I completely agree with you, and my argument was based on story, right? And it was based on kind of emotion, and you hit the nails on the head with Lineker being of a bit of an advanced age and all that. I think if I'm not mistaken, those 2 penalties he scored were the only penalties, or the first penalties he scored for England in his entire career. Those first 2.
I wasn't aware of that, really.
Of course, he also infamously pooed himself a couple of games before that. So
was that the same tournament?
That was the same tournament. Exactly. Yeah, that was the same tournament. That was
a crazy game. Crazy things happen. I get your argument with Roger, because it just the name itself. I mean, you could say the same with Lineker, but the name itself, Roger Milla, just brings up such happy memories. The dancing, the kit, those wonderful colors. And you're right, he does lead the team to that game. He does. I mean, the assist for that or the second goal, Akeke scores. He does that little spin, the pirouette, and then and pass it straight to him. That touch that's so light but so effective and breaks the English defense open. So I can totally see the argument. But at the end of the day, who won the game? England. And that's the question. We've been in this campaign where COPA90 and Mikel have been looking into all these performances. We've done everything from digital archives to print archives. We've probably gone back all the way to 1930. And the one thing you realize is it's not always the winner that actually is the superior player of the match. So it's not always the winning team that has the superior player of the match on the tournament. One of my favorite stories is from 1950 or 54. It's famously called 1954, the Battle of Luzon. I believe it was Austria-Hungary 7-5, 7-5, the highest scoring match. But the superior player of the match of that one was actually on the losing side because he scored a hat trick. So that's what I mean. And then I think that's what is fascinating about this discussion and this award is that it can go to anyone. You never know. And it is about so much more than the winner or even the loser. Sometimes, as you said, it's about the fact that Roger Milla was 38 years old. He was basically retired. At the time, he was playing on Reunion Island. This wasn't a man playing in Europe, not even in Africa. He was in the middle of the ocean, Pacific Ocean, if my geography has me correct. And he's out here beating one of the powerhouse nations of football in its biggest tournament. It's just, I think, you know what, when I say it out loud like that, you may be right. You may be right. Because that's like 38 years old.
I did also touch on it when I was talking about how he sort of went about in the game. He only did play the second half. He didn't actually contribute to everything that happened around it all that much. He had decisive moments, which are really those are the highlights, right? So that's what most people are going to latch to. But I feel like just the impact, you have to kind of give it to him in that respect. Like if you were to look at the whole game, I also, like I said, I watched the game last night just again to check out. And David Platt had an unbelievable game. He scores the first goal, brilliant header, like textbook, head it down. And he's running around all game. He should have scored twice, actually. He had a great opportunity in the second half. Just after Cameroon went up. Yeah, there's so many people you could give it to. And I think stats-wise, Miller's not going to win in terms of the hard running and a lot of other things. I just don't think that. I think Lineker probably deserves it a lot more, played the full 120 and did so much more. But I have the emotional kind of aspect that's...
it's stats for story, isn't it? That's what it comes down to. Stats for story.
And that's all you can do when you're looking back on especially games that you weren't there to live through and watch, and you kind of have to rely on legacy media.
Well, I would. The question for me then is if you're going to ask like that, stats versus stories, as you said, like David Platt, you forget he scored, he had many chances, but then the amount of chances that was saved by the Cameroonian keeper as well, does he then have a shot in it? I think at the end of the day, for me, the beauty of the World Cup and what makes it so special is its stories. It is the narratives behind it, the kind of lore that makes the game so much more than the stats. That is what makes us love this tournament so much more than just what happened on the pitch. And for that, if I'm really honest, as incredible as the players' performances were for England, from David Platt to Lineker, I actually think if I'm being true, it's got to be Roger Milla, because, as I said, if you really want to recognize superiority, it's about doing something more than just on the pitch. It's about leaving a legacy. And what bigger legacy has been left than a 38-year-old playing in the Pacific Island, who's left us with a dance, a name. I mean, he's the stuff of legends. Everyone knows him around the world. And I think for me personally, you actually turned me around, and I'm going to say you're right. Roger Milla was the superior player of the match for that game, and he deserves his flowers, and we should recognize it.
And then he went to a World Cup 4 years after that, and then scored again.
Don't even get me started on that one. 42 years old. I mean, that's a conversation for another day, but 42 years old still scoring at World Cups is just something unbelievable.
Oh, well, I guess that's great.
That. Congratulations, Roger. Your superior player of the match trophy is coming your way. Thanks to COPA90 and Michelob Ultra, of course. But again, there's just so many more stories like that as well. And I think that's what makes this so great, is just how far back it goes. I mean, literally, you name me a country, you name me a tournament, we have been going through the archives, and it's just amazing, just what we don't realize happened at this tournament, and just the greatness that was displayed that hasn't got recognized.
Yeah, well, perfect, man. And you know what? I wish you guys all the best in the copious amounts of work that you're gonna have to get through for this, and you're already doing a fantastic job. And yeah, honestly, so honored to be able to be a part of it.
The pleasure's ours. Well, listen, if there's any other stories or any of your listeners know about, get in touch with us, because we're making a massive list, and we want to, on all socials, we've been saying, tell us your superior player of the match, because this game has fans all around the world, and there's all measures of opinions that we want to hear about, because again, it's not linear, is it? It's not black and white. Well, what's superior is to one person is different to the other, and I think that's what makes this so fun. This conversation isn't it's not about stats. You said it's about stories. You're on the ultimate platform, the whole world's watching, and I'm sure we're going to see something special again this time around.